Shilorisi, how about you begin the prayers?
Yes, you ready for the prayers? Okay,
Yes.
here we go. Can you see those?
Yes, if somebody can lead the prayer.
Oh, you want somebody to read the prayer? Okay.
Just the English part.
Okay. Enthused with great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Oh, 3 times. Sorry. Enthused with great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to display all perverted views. To you, Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused with great compassion, you taught Immaculate Dharma to display all perverted views. To you, Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. What's next? Should I continue or do I go to the next practice?
Independent origination, you continue reading these.
Okay. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no alienation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness, and no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught peace, which is freed of elaborations. I prostrate to the mothers of hearers, the bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, which, through the knowledge of all, lead hearers seeking pacification to complete peace, which, through the knowledge of paths, causes those helping migrators to achieve the aims of the world, and through the possession of which helps subduers to expound the variety of teachings. One who is transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sagata, the protector, to you I make prostrations. The one who has illuminated the web of conceptualizations and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth with forever noble lights, to you, the Buddhas, I make prostrations. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Should I continue, or do now I go to Shakti when the Buddha praise the praise of Shakti?
Okay. I'll recite it. I'll recite this mantra, and we'll all join. We'll all join me. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham dathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham dathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham datha gato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodham evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. The meaning of the mantra: all phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of causes as well is taught by the great seer. The next. A profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear-light and non-composite, such as the nectar like Dharma I have discovered, finding no one who can fathom this teaching in silence or return to the woods. Beyond our trends, thought, and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unceased, and has the nature of space, is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas, or 3 times obeisance. The 4 seals of the Buddha's teachings. All composite things are impermanent. All contaminated things are the nature of suffering. All phenomena are the nature of emptiness, selflessness. Transcending soul is peace. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of everything wholesome. I hope go for refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, you liberate all beings from miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expansive billions of eons. The Buddha does not watch the negativities of the beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realization is not transferred to them. It is by teaching the truth of the suchness that the beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered miseries gloom. Instructions on parting from the 4 attachments. If you're attached to this life, you're not a spiritual practitioner. If you're attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you're attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. Okay, page, I think page 29. Not this one. You just keep going down. Okay, Hearts of the Mantra, we all know this. We'll say it together. Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. Okay, yes, now we can close the screen sharing. Okay, thank you. First of all, I like to express my, deep sorrow over the loss of Geshe Lama Subarmishe. It's a big loss for the Dharma, the big loss for sentient beings, the big loss for everyone who seeks, everyone who seeks, they say, the growth, everyone who seeks to activate the Buddha nature is a big loss. But we need to also remember that for these enlightened beings, the very reason for them to be on the earth is to benefit the beings. And for sure, they'll come back. But I think it's that to what extent we express our, say, the eagerness and the aspiration that the Guru comes back. For this, only if the Guru feels that I have to go back, then these things happen. And how does it happen? It's not that, you know, we just make the request, but we do things in accordance with what he wishes, what he wished. So what he wished is that he embodied compassion. He embodied bodhicitta. Bodhicitta meaning to embrace all the Dhamma sentient beings. And seeing him as a role model for us, we also practice it. The bodhicitta, embracing other beings and respect others who practice the Dhamma, and adore those who lead us from the state of darkness to the wisdom, a state of misery to the state of happiness, state of fear to the state of fearlessness. If you do that, then the Gurus will see that there's a benefit for them to come back. And they'll come back, no doubt. And it is with this in mind that there are so many ways of making requests, appealing, beseeching the Gurus to come back once more, in form of prayers, in the form of doing what he wished us to do, like, say, growing ourselves. And how do we grow? This is the next point. How do we grow? They grow in activating you by activating your Buddha nature within. And how to activate the Buddha nature? So Buddha nature is like a gold. When that is mixed with the soil or the dirt or the mud, although the nature of the gold is to glow, but we see that nothing is glowing. It doesn't mean that the gold is not there, but it is obscured by the mud. And how do you know that? So these gurus, they are like the goldsmith, experts in gold. And they will say, don't throw this, there's a gold here. So they help us to identify that these are the mud. Remove the mud, and the gold inside will, as you remove the mud more and more, the gold inside will start to glow more and more. So this is what for the enlightened beings come. And the enlightened beings, like Lama Soba Rinpoche, having come to this planet Earth to show us this path, to show us that there's a Buddha nature within each one of us. Our job is to remove the mental dirt, remove the mud, that the Buddha nature inside will be awakened. And so how do we remove this? By applying the remedies to counteract the mud. And what are these remedies? Remedies lies in the wisdom of emptiness, and complemented by the bodhicitta, the unconditional love of bodhicitta, and supported by the renunciation. So these things, if we really grab at these things, practice the wisdom of emptiness, bodhicitta, and the renunciation, then to practice this, we need to have conviction in these three. To gain conviction in these three is not like, say, if you eat your breakfast, then your hunger will go away. It's not that as simple as that. Instead, it is a quantum mechanics where somebody tells you that the world on the macro level is operating on the basis of the quantum mechanics, and we just it's not that we will come to know about it just within one lecture, 2 lectures. Instead, we have to dedicate our time, the extended period of time that will come to get this conviction that, oh, that's true. What quantum mechanics says, how on the micro level, the world is operating on the basis of the quantum mechanics, where the observed makes sense by dependence on the observer, and there's the action operating for what is known as quantum entanglement. All these things will make sense to us through more extensive studies, not through listening to a lecture once. So likewise, all these gurus, they appear on this planet Earth in order to constantly guide us, to create this awareness within us that there's a Buddha nature within us, each one of us, that goes like Buddha nature within us. And in order to activate this, we need to remove the mental dirt. And how to remove the mental dirt is by resorting to the respective remedies. And what are the remedies? The wisdom of emptiness. And this wisdom of emptiness must be complemented by the unconditional love of bodhicitta. And this unconditional love of bodhicitta must be supported by a sense of renunciation. So we need to know all these three things so well. And on top of that, we also need the single-pointed meditation to stabilize these three experiences. Must be supported by the single-point meditation. And if you do that, this is what makes the gurus most happy. When they see that, when the gurus, they see that you are actually doing that, then the gurus will see that there's a reason why I should come back to the world, to help the beings, because they look at these people, they're actually putting the effort in line with what I wish for them. So the study of the emptiness, study of bodhicitta, renunciation, and your practice, these are the best way of making the prayers that the gurus come back to help us. So therefore, yes, it is a great loss. At the same time, whether or not the gurus will come back to help us, it entirely depends on to what extent we fulfill their aspirations. So what we are doing here, I say they're taking part in the study of the emptiness. It is extremely important, one of the best ways by which to make the guru really convinced that there's a reason why I have to come back to the world as soon as possible. So this is the best way by which to invoke the guru to please come back, reappear your face on the planet Earth to benefit the sentient beings and to benefit the Buddha Dharma. Okay. So with this in mind, just as we, since our childhood, we have our parents to nurture us. We were just a small child, a toddler, and then we, become like age 5, 6, 7, 8, and then a teenager, then a young adult, and then the self-sufficient adult. So this is how we grow. So likewise, it is a physical growth. And then on the conventional sense, in the worldly sense, we say that yes, now this person has grown, has got a sense. Now the person has developed the sense of the maturity, But on a higher level of the understanding, we see that we are still very small. We are still like very small children. In ways that what do you want? What do you want? Say for a small child, if you ask what do you want, they will say, I want a chocolate. I want to keep playing on a playground. Or I don't want to go to school. And then as you grow older, I want a good job, and well-paid job, good health, good family, adventure, and so forth. And then what about sickness, aging, death, tension, stress, anxiety, depression, and so forth? No, I don't want. Although we don't want this, they invariably come. We have to experience this. And they say, conventional speaking, in the conventional world, people think about good job or good health, good family, and so forth. But we don't really talk about what about freedom from sickness? What about freedom from aging, death, tension, so forth? What about these? And we don't really talk about these things. Only those people who are more matured will think about these. It's for this reason that the whole genre of teaching on the whole genre of the teachings on Lamrim human existence with Lama Atisha Dibangara Sri Gyana in the 11th century, what he taught. He taught this Lamrim teaching, the graded path, the teaching on the graded the path or the stages of the path to enlightenment. And in fact, this is, although we ascribe this set of this set of teachings as the Lamrim teaching, as though like it is something separate. In actuality, this was already taught by the Buddha Shakyamuni himself. And then, say, in the 1st century AD, with the advent of Arya Nagarjuna and his disciple, Arya, the Bodhisattva Aryadeva, who in his 400 verses, he very clearly delineated the following, that at the outset, in his text 400 verses, he said that at the outset, get rid of all the non-meritorious actions. In the middle, get rid of the self. In the end, get rid of all. Okay. This is amazing. This is very concisely the Lamrim practice in just one verse. When he said that at the outset, get rid of all the non-meritorious actions. When he said this, this pertains to the teachings meant for the small scope person. What we call as the Lamrim practice, the practice of the stages of the path of enlightenment. So there are 3 stages taught, stages that the teachings meant for the small scope person, the teachings meant for the middle scope person, and the teachings meant for the great scope person. And for somebody, so all of us from the Shantideva Center, we are all somehow connected with the minor teaching. Minor teaching is the teachings meant for the great scope person. What do you mean by great? What do you mean by middle? What do you mean by small scope, middle scope, great scope? What do you mean by these? It is on the basis of the level of maturation, how mature you are. And it's so important. And only if we acknowledge, only if we are aware, first of all, come to this awareness. Yes, people differ in their level of thinking. Some are so mature, and some are so fluffy, so easily they can be affected. And some are extremely stable and not easily affected at all, very calm. Some just, can be fluctuated so easily. So why these differences? These are all the indication of of course, what the Buddha taught is that nothing really exists randomly. All composite things are impermanent. The mantra which we just recited, Ye dharma hetu prabhava, all these phenomena arise from the causes. Meaning that all composite phenomena, they arise from causes. Composite phenomena, your happiness, your miseries. Some people, they are very stable. Some people, they are extremely flickery. They can easily be disturbed, affected so easily. So these are all, they don't really arise randomly. They arise by depends on the respective causes. Ye dharma hetu prabhava. All these phenomena arise from causes. And what are the causes taught by what are these causes responsible for our miseries, responsible for our happiness? These are taught by the Tathagata. Hetum tesham tathagato hyavatat. And how to get rid of these causes which are responsible for our miseries? Tesham chayo nirodha. Evam vadi mahashramanai soham. How to get rid of how to get rid of these causes of miseries as well is taught by the great seer Mahashramanai Swaha. Okay, so from this we the wise people. How can we demarcate between the wise people and the unwise people? Wise people, they are very stable because they know that these things don't arise randomly. They arise by dependence on their cause conditions. With unwise people, they only crave for the results, happy results. They don't really care for the cause of the happy results. So when you don't look for the cause of the causes of the happy results, happiness, and still craving for happiness, these are the unwise people. So whereas those people, because I want happiness, the only way by which to get the happiness is by going for the cause of the happiness. These are the wise people. And those people who are the who don't want suffering, and then who just chase after the causes of the miseries. These are known as unwise beings. This is what Bodhisattva Shantideva very clearly indicated in his text, chapter 1, that the worldly beings, while they dislike the miseries, they chase after the causes of the miseries, as well they chase after the causes of miseries. While they want the happiness, they destroy the cause of their own happiness, as so like they're destroying the misery, destroying the enemies. This is what Bodhisattva Shantideva taught. So therefore, on that basis, those beings who don't really care for the causes of the miseries, or who didn't really care for the cause of the happiness, and yet wanting happiness, want to get rid of miseries, these are the small children-like people. So therefore, in the teachings of the Buddha, the ordinary people are referred to as the childlike people or children-like people, children-like. Okay, so now with this, they being a part of, say, the Shantideva Center, or being a part of any, say, the teaching of the Buddha, our job, the first thing that we need to get conviction in is the meaning of this mantra. Ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato hyavattat tesham chayo nirodha evam vadi ma shramana. So this is so important to know the meaning of the mantra. And then say, for example, how do we learn English? Say the language. How do we learn English? Say when you're day one you're born. Of course, you don't speak English. And then say when you start to speak, like age 2 or age 1.5 years, then you just mimic what your parents are saying. And when you're age 6, still you don't know many of the technical words. You don't really have the richness in the English vocabularies. So how do we learn all these rich vocabularies and the sentence structures, very complicated sentence structures? Is only through habituation, through practice. So likewise, that say that finally, that say whether you are male or female, or whether you are American, non-American, whether you are, say, young, old, educated, uneducated, whoever you are, we all share one thing in common, that we want happiness, we don't want suffering. This is reality. And happiness, some people may not be too keen to use this word happiness. For them, they want fulfillment, they want ease. They don't really like this word happiness. So whatever vocabulary that you use is fine. After all, we don't want suffering, and we want the ease. What degree of ease that we want? We want the maximum ease. What degree of suffering you want to get rid of? We want to get rid of all the sufferings. This is a reality. This is a commonality among all the beings, human beings, animals, insects, hungry ghosts, hell beings, god and goddess, spirits, everyone is just the same. So if that is the case, then the next point is that how do we succeed? How much we succeed in wanting happiness or getting happiness, and the getting rid of the suffering, to what extent? So since time immemorial till today, eons and eons ago till today, to what extent we have succeeded? We don't really succeed. So the question is, many questions can come up. How do we know that there are so many lifetimes since time? When we talk about the eons and eons, how do we know that the so many lifetimes are there? So some people believe in rebirth, some people don't believe in rebirth, and some people born in the tradition where the rebirth is just taken for granted, and some people are born in tradition where the rebirth is not at all discussed. So what is the reality? This is a very important question. And so for this, I would say that we have to say, okay, the one thing that we need to know is that the rebirth, the concept of rebirth. Only if the concept of rebirth is you're convinced with the concept of rebirth, then the law of karma makes sense. With the law of karma, then the concept of the gade, para samgade, bodhisattva will make sense to us. So, what about rebirth? This is an extremely separate, a very important topic, and yes, the first thing is that to prove rebirth is not easy. Likewise, to disprove rebirth is also not easy. The proof or disprove, to say no, rebirth does not exist, that's very easy. But how not? How do you know? Then it becomes very complicated, because I say as the Buddha indicated, Yedharma hetu prabhava, all these composite phenomena, they come into existence, but it depends on the previous cause conditions. And in physics, there's a discussion between quantum mechanics and relativity theory. The physicists like Niels Bohr, who accept and not only accept, who were a great advocates of the quantum mechanics, and Albert Einstein, a great advocate of relativity theory. So Einstein and they say the Niels Bohr, what is the main disagreement between the two is the concept of randomness. The Buddha taught nothing's random, and quantum mechanics there's concept of randomness. And Albert Einstein, he's totally unhappy with this concept. Einstein would say that no, God does not play dice. So what comes as a result of the dice is pure random. So God doesn't play dice, meaning that he's rejecting randomness. In other words, Albert Einstein is more in line with the deterministic theory, whereas Niels Bohr is more in line with the random, more in line with, except as he was an advocate of randomness in the context of quantum mechanics. So these are such a great discussion happening there. So for us to just say that, okay, randomly the beings came on the planet Earth, it's not that simple. And as human beings, we see that say Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory would say that human beings came from 0.3 million years ago. 0.3 million years ago, Homo sapiens came into existence. And then Homo sapiens, we track back our ancestor. The first ancestor is a unicellular organism. 4 billion years ago. 4 billion years ago, the water came into existence on the planet Earth, according to science. So at that point, around the same time, the unicellular organism came into existence. So that was our ancestor, the first organism. And then what before that? Before that, nothing. It was just, they say, the 4.6 billion years that the planet Earth came out of the sun. sun and solar system, whole thing came out of the Milky Way galaxy. A Milky Way galaxy came out from the singularity, the Big Bang, which was the beginning of the whole universe 15 billion years ago. So this was how that is explained in science, and even among the physicists, there's a debate whether or not is this the single Big Bang or multiple Big Bang. And Professor Roger Penrose, who was a Nobel laureate last year, he stood against the single Big Bang. He said that we can't really think of something coming out of nothing. There must be, he's more in line with deterministic, the principle. So the point is that so with this, when we really check what are the causes, what are the factors responsible for the being, human beings come into existence, then it's not that easy. So even from the point of view of the physics, from the Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory point of view, we see that there are so many explanatory gaps. Okay. So because of this, to say there's no rebirth, it's just random. And this is a sheer indication that the person doesn't really have a thorough understanding of the explanation of physics about the world, and doesn't really inquire into the gap within the evolutionary theory set forth by Charles Darwin. So there are so many explanatory gaps there. Okay, having said this, to say that there's no rebirth, that's not that easy. And to say there's a rebirth, the person must be extremely sharp and intelligent. If the person is not too intelligent, they rationally, logically, to be convinced that there's rebirth, it's not that easy. So it involves many factors that one should be exposed to, the knowledge of neuroscience, how the brains work, how the neurons work, and how these experiences come into existence. How do they explain? What are the explanatory gaps that you see in neuroscience pertaining to the reductionist approach of the workings of the mind to the workings of the brain? Mind reduced to the brain. So what are the explanatory gaps there? So seeing all these things, and then going to the reasons, pure reasons, rendered by Acharya Dharmakirti, 7th century AD, great Indian logician and a master. What he said in his text, Pramanavartika, chapter 2. Study that so well and be exposed to modern neuroscience, and also how the universe came into existence, looking at things from holistically. Then we see that the rebirth, without accepting rebirth, it's impossible that you can account for all these the evolution of the universe, evolution of the human beings, and so forth. Okay, this is going to be a separate topic, and if you're really interested in this, yes, there are people who talk about, oh, rebirth is there, rebirth is of course there, because look at this, there's one person there who remembers the past life and so forth. And I personally would say that it can be useful for some people, but it may not be useful for the general audience. For general audience, we need the support of reasons rather than just stories. Stories can be useful for some people, but not to all. Okay, keeping that aside, that cause and effect, that if you want happiness, then the wise people will look for the causes. Wise people will look to gather the causes of happiness. If you don't want suffering, the wise people will track the causes of the miseries and will get rid of the cause of miseries to stop the miseries. This is so important. And in other words, seeing that, say if you are somebody having a very deep conviction in the efficacy of cause and effect, that what is happening should necessarily come into being by dependence on the previous causes. This will then allow you to, you to explore deeper, and then at least engage in, say the things which will make you, which will give rise to happiness, and will make you to disengage yourself from the factors which otherwise will create miseries to you. For example, one thing that I would say, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama is extremely practical, and he would say that saying, if you really want to have your intelligence sharpened, so some people, they will sit for Arya Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom. Arya Manjushri sadhana, the retreat, reciting Arya Manjushri's mantra, Om Arabhazana, Om Arabhazana, then spend like months and months and months, perhaps years. And His Holiness would say that instead of sitting for the months and months of retreat reciting Arya Manjushri's mantra, instead of that, if you really study something, that will actually sharpen your intelligence. And I fully agree with what His Holiness said, because if you want to become a Nobel laureate in physics, if you want to become a Nobel laureate in physics, if you sit for a retreat, oh, I'm going to become Nobel laureate Nobel laureate in physics, and I would like to recite the mantra of Albert Einstein, Om Einstein, Om Einstein. You recite 100,000 times, you will not become a Nobel laureate. 100% Nobel in physics. If you want to become Nobel in physics, instead of reciting Einstein mantra, you study quantum mechanics, you study relativity theory. There's a chance that you can become a Nobel laureate in physics, not otherwise. This is guaranteed. This is the reality. This is what the Buddha taught us, cause and effect. It is so scientific. So therefore, we should slowly stay away from blind faith. Slowly stay away from blind faith and go to become more rational. Become more rational in your thinking. And then these, say, Arya Nagarjuna's emptiness, it will work. You will have the eyes, you will have the mental eyes to see the nuances of the concepts. Simply by blind faith, you will never get there. Same reality, the emptiness concept, it is as refined as the relativity theory, as refined as quantum mechanics. And simply by reciting the mantra, you cannot become an expert in quantum mechanics. How can I expect to become an expert by reciting mantra? You can expect to become the expert in the emptiness. So therefore, we should be very realistic, So therefore, but it doesn't mean that mantra recitation is useless. There's not a connotation. When I say that, okay, food is important, candies are not important, right? Candy is totally useless. Chocolates are totally useless. This is not what I'm saying. You can enjoy candy sometimes. You can enjoy your cheesecake sometimes. It's fine. But don't eat cheesecake all the time. You have to eat proper food. Okay. So this is the basic principle. So with this in mind, in other words, what I'm saying is that we have to grow from a childlike in the scriptures, referred to as childlike or children-like, to a more matured beings. What are these beings known as? Yogis. From a childlike person to the realized beings, yogis. What does it mean by yogi? Yogi does not mean somebody who performs physical exercise. This is a very trivial understanding of yogi. Some people who are very good in physical exercises, and then I teach yoga, right? So yoga, yes, yoga involves physical exercises. And even if you go to the root of the yoga, concept of yoga, we see that there's a physical yoga and a mental yoga. This physical yoga is to take you towards the mental yoga. So when you reach the mental yoga, level of mental yoga, then you are referred to as the yogis, not otherwise. What is meant by mental yogis? Those people who are able to manage your emotions, mentally manage emotions, where somebody provokes you and you are not provoked, you remain very stable and firm. And somebody who you love so much, and a person provokes you, you become even more angry. No, your love is not shattered. Your love continues. Your love and affection continues, no matter how the unkind or how ungrateful the other person is. Your affection remains extremely stable and firm. So you're not easily shaken. This is how you manage your emotions. These people are known as the yogis. These people are known as the wise beings. These people are known as the matured. So ordinary beings or the children-like beings versus the matured beings, the yogis. When talk about the yogis, again, the common people will say that, oh, he's yogi, he's enlightened. She's yogi, she's enlightened. No, again, this is too naive. Bodhisattva Shantideva said that the beings are of two kinds, the worldly and the yogis. The yogis supersede the worldly beings. Within the yogis, higher levels of the yogis will supersede the lower levels of the yogis. It's so important for us to see all these nuances as presented by the brilliant thinkers, the philosophers, and the practitioners. Okay. So with this in mind, our job is to grow. So don't think that, okay, I'm already in my now 40s, I'm already in my 50s, 60s, 70s. Now, will I really grow? I'm already grown physically, right? Now my mind doesn't come on. No, don't underestimate yourself. We all have this incredibly beautiful Buddha nature within us. The seed of perfection is within us. This is not to be accepted blindly. This is reality. This is reality. Of course, we have just 4 sessions. They expect to go into all the details about the rebirth, about the Buddha nature, about emptiness, about bodhicitta, everything. We cannot cover all these things. These are what people study for 20 years. 20 years, and that too, minimum like 10 hours a day. 10 hours a day into 365 days into like 20 years. This is how people spend so much time to know these things. So the point is that we have to learn how to grow. Okay. And what do you mean by growth? The real growth is where, say, the Buddha nature inside us, seed of perfection within us, that becomes more and more manifest. So it's up to you how you present it. There are 2 ways of presenting it. Say it's the same thing presented in 2 ways. One, your Buddha nature is awakened more and more. This is the meaning of the growth. Or the mental defilements which obscure this Buddha nature, you remove the mental defilements more and more. This is the meaning of the growth. So our job is try to get rid of the mental defilements so the Buddha nature inside us will become more and more manifest. This is the meaning of the growth. If that happens, this is the meaning of our life, the purpose of life. How to make it happen? This is the next question. How to make it happen? How to remove these mental defilements so that the Buddha, the goals like Buddha nature within us will be visible? How to remove the mental defilements? For that, this is very important. And the mental defilements, we see that the Heart Sutra mantra, Gade, Gade, Para, Gade, Para, Samgade, Bodhi, Swaha. So there's the indication of the 5 steps there. Gade, Gade, Para, Gade, Para, Samgade, Bodhi, Swaha. The 5 steps, these refer to the 5 paths. 5 paths to enlightenment. Path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, and path of normal learning. And if you are new to these concepts, you have to learn. And I'm sure that from Shantideva Center, you have already learned these things. Okay, so these 5 parts, meaning that our mental departments are to be eradicated, are to be removed in steps. And these mental departments, in the first place, we come to know that what we said earlier is that we all, irrespective of who you are, from which country, from which nationality, from which the ethnicity, what gender, irrespective of who you are, we all crave for 2 things: to get away from miseries and to have the maximum happiness, maximum ease. These are the 2 things which everybody commonly seeks. So, given that these are the 2 goals, we don't really have to look for these 2 things outside. Those people who look for these 2 things outside, they are immature people. They are the small children-like people. Those who look for these 2 things inside, they are the mature people. Let's not forget it. Let's not forget it. Okay. What do you mean by looking for these 2 outside and looking for inside? For example, who believe that money will give me the ultimate happiness. Power will give an ultimate happiness. Or the family will give me the ultimate happiness. Or adventure will give me the ultimate happiness. Music will give me the ultimate happiness. Or let's say as many likes, 1 million likes in the Instagram or the Facebook and so forth will give me happiness. So these are all looking for happiness outside. So these are unwise people. Unwise people. Whereas the real treasure is within. For example, let's say there's somebody so kind to you. What is your emotion? Emotionally, what do you feel? You feel there's so much of tenderness. You could feel it coming. Where is it coming from? Is it flowing from another person towards you? No. We talk about bad wives. We talk about bad wives. We talk about good wives. Actually, these vibes, the vibes, they don't really come from outside. It's really come from inside. Bad wives, good wives, all come from inside. So even if what we go, oh, this person must be so bad. I could feel something wrong there. I could feel the bad vibes there. So his own Sadharam is there. He will not feel that. We'll feel that. Buddha will not feel that. We feel that. We feel the bad vibes. Buddha feels the good vibes all the time. So therefore, he said that for Buddha, everything is divine. Everything is divine. Okay. So with this, so where is it? For example, say, although we don't feel that everything is divine, but we do find sometimes, for example, like sitting there and just watching the sunset. Sometimes it gives such a peace in the mind, beautiful state of mind. Sometimes with the music, there's a beautiful moment of your mind, so calm, peaceful. But it doesn't happen to everybody. It happens to some. It doesn't happen to everybody. Some people, that particular music may be too boring. For you, it just gives you such a peace. Your mind flows in music. But for some people, it's so boring. So why it happens to some people, why not to other people? Okay, and where is this coming from? It's not coming from the music. It's coming from the music. It should come to everybody. Because everybody's hearing the same music. For some, it's very boring. For some, it's pleasant. Where the music is the same, for some people, there's very pleasant feeling. Where is it coming from? Not from the music, from inside you. So there's a source of this joy inside you. That source is the hidden treasure. And if you can look for ways and means by which to exploit fully, then you can feel this music infinitely. The infinite music you can feel in you from within. If you know how to retrieve this experience, retrieve this treasure. Okay, this is so important. So our job is knowing that the real treasures inside us. If you don't have this conviction, while this is reality, and this can rationally be understood, and of course it requires more study. If you're convinced of this, then you will never underestimate yourself. Whereas if you're not convinced with this, at times when you go through rough times, rough days, you may feel so demoralized. Then you may underestimate yourself. You may curse yourself. You may hate yourself. But if you know that there's a Buddha nature within me, there's a treasure within me, you will never underestimate yourself. You will never hate yourself. This is so precious. Okay, in other words, you have to grow. So to grow, what do you mean by growth? Is to discover this treasure. Let it manifest. How to let it manifest? Remove the mental dirt. How to remove the mental dirt? We have to identify the mental dirt first. For example, if I tell you that, okay, last month, my cloth, okay, my sweater, let's say, my shirt, it fell on the mud, and it became very dirty, and I washed it under the water, running water. It became very clean. And yesterday, the shirt fell in the grease, and I washed it under the running water. It doesn't become clean, right? It doesn't become clean. So why not? I ask you, is it that now the water has changed, composition water has changed? That earlier it is very effective to remove the dirt. Now, yesterday, it became, because of global warming, the water has changed, and it is not effective to remove the dirt. You will say no. Then why why 1 month ago, when my shirt fell in the mud under the running water, it became very clean? And why yesterday, when the same shirt fell in the grease, I washed under the running water, it doesn't become clean? Why? You will say that because the nature of the defilement is different. Nature of the stain is different. Earlier, the stain is just mud. With the mud under the running water, plain running water, it will clean. But the grease is very different from mud. The nature of the grease and nature of the mud, these are very different. Grease cannot be removed by the plain running water. It requires a special chemical. It requires a special antidote, remedy. Okay, so which means that in order to apply the remedy, you need to know the nature of the mental departments. Yes. So what is the nature of mental department? My mental departments, which obscure this Buddha nature within us, obscure this gold within us. And the Buddha nature, when I speak about Buddha nature, don't think this is about Buddhism. No. Buddha means awakened, awakening, awakened state. Nature means a nature for the awakening of your potential. Awakening. And this seed of awakening, the potential for awakening, is present not only in the Buddhists. Everyone has this seed of awakening. So Buddha is a Sanskrit word. So Buddha, why the Buddha? Buddhism, this word came from the Buddha. And the Buddha simply means the awakened one. Awakened one. Anybody can be awakened. Everybody has a seed of awakening. So therefore, Buddha should not be, when you say Buddha nature, it should not be mixed up with the Buddhism. These two are very different. Buddha nature is present within everyone. Even Buddha, before the Buddha came on the planet Earth, Buddha nature exists in everyone. Existed in everyone. Even today, it exists. Even if you are a Muslim, Hindus, Christians, Jews, Jains, Sikhs, Baha'i, or the Parsi, we all non-believers, everyone has this seed of perfection. This seed of perfection, seed of awakening, that is known as the, technically in Sanskrit, it is known as Buddha nature. Okay, so now we have to know the nature of the mental developments. What are the nature of mental developments? So there are two. One, the gross mental development, and the other one is subtle one. The gross one, it is like the same. I don't eat garlic, and somebody smashed garlic in my mug. That's who smashed garlic in my mug? I don't eat garlic, and you owned up saying, "I'm very sorry, I did it." Then you remove the solid garlic, and you wash it under the running water. You wash it so well. Now there's no trace of garlic. You smell it; it still smells garlic. So although the solid garlic is not there, but the smell is there. So solid garlic is like the gross mental development, and the smell of the garlic is like subtle stain of the subtle stains of the mental developments. So mental developments there are two, one which is very gross and one which is subtle. So the gross one is technically known as afflictive obscurations, and the subtle one is technically known as the cognitive obscurations. Two. And the gross one, the gross one, the presence of this stops you from experiencing fearlessness. There's so much of fear in our life. COVID-19, 2020, 2021, so much of fear. And the fear of the death, fear of terminal illness, fear of losing a job, fear of liquidation, a fear of not getting a promotion, fear of bankruptcy. All these fears are there. So these fears are attracted by external. There are two factors: external factors and internal factors are there. So external factors, one hand; internal factors, another hand. These two hands come together. The thunderclap is erupted. So this thunderclap is the metaphor for the fears. These fears not necessarily arise simply because of the external factors. It requires internal factors as well. If the internal factor is removed, then the external factors alone cannot give rise to the sound of the fear. The fear dissolves. So the point is that this gross mental development, the gross one. So gross one, the presence of this stops you from experiencing fearlessness. In other words, the gross one attracts the fears, afflictive obscurations. And a subtle one, because it's very subtle, it stops you from, say, a white cloth. A white cloth, let's say a white cloth, is so, let's say, it's extremely beautiful, it's extremely nice, but so you see the stains are there, the mud stains are there, then this, the glow of the cloth is disrupted. So the mind, your mind, the true nature of mind is that it can flow freely to every atom of the universe. It can flow freely like light. Light trapped in the pitcher. Say there's a bulb there, electric bulb. You light it on, put it on, and then put a vase on this. Although there's light there, the light is not visible there. The nature of light inside. Nature of light inside is to flow in all directions. How do you know that? Smash the pitcher, smash the vase. Then light inside will flow because every atom instantly. This is the nature of this light. Likewise, the nature of mind is to flow freely. What's the opposite of flowing freely? Imprisonment. At the moment, our mind is imprisoned because of these stains. These stains, they're imprisoned. They do not allow our mind to feel the freedom. When these stains are removed, then the mind exhibits its true nature. That is that it flows freely towards every atom of the universe. That is a total freedom, total awakening, total enlightenment. Okay, wow, that's amazing. Which means that we have to get rid of these the mental departments. Then enlightenment is within. Yes. So this is known as the ultimate treasure of your happiness. If you put effort to remove these mental defilements, then the mind will exhibit its own true nature. Say the dirty water, remove the dirt, the purity manifests. You don't have to bring the purity from outside. Remove the dirt, all the drinking water that we get, the bottled water that we get from the shops. So these are all these are the water that we get from after the purification process. Say, initially it's not drinkable water. You get from any stream, from a river, and then you subject this to the purification process, like reverse osmosis, ultrafiltration, and so forth. And then the dirt is all removed. Then what happens? Purity manifests. This purity is not brought from somewhere else by the company. It's already within the water. It manifests. When the dirt is removed, the purity manifests. Likewise, when the mental dirt is removed, the mental purity manifests. And what is that true nature? Manifests true nature. That is that it flows freely towards every atom of the universe, where all the ensnarement stops, where all the imprisonment stops, because nothing can block your mind. What is imprisonment? That somebody blocks you from going away from a particular certain spot. You cannot go beyond this point. Whereas now, these two mental defilements, they block your mind from freely moving around. So therefore, your mind is imprisoned by these two mental defilements. Removing these two mental defilements, the mind becomes free. And first, remove the gross one. It is free to a great extent that the fears dissolve. Then you remove the subtle one. It flows freely 100%, that it experiences ultimate awakening, ultimate freedom. That is known as the enlightenment, Buddhahood. Okay, so for this, what should we do? We have to apply the remedies to remove the dirt. What's the remedy? The remedy lies in the wisdom of emptiness. This is the only remedy that we can think of. And okay. So this wisdom of emptiness, this is so precious. And because of this, while the Buddha taught 84,000 sets of teachings, but of these teachings, it is only the wisdom of emptiness that is referred to as the liberating path, and all others are referred to as the ripening path. They are not the liberating path. Only the wisdom of emptiness is the liberating path, because all these what actually liberates us is the wisdom of emptiness. For example, say there are two poisonous trees there, and what will help us to remove these poisonous trees? The sharp axe. What about somebody has to pick this axe up. Somebody has to pick this axe and then hit it, cut the poisonous trees. Yes, and this person, the woodcutter, he also needs some food to eat to have energy. The food, does it cut the tree? No. What cuts the tree is only the axe, not the food. But the food is required. If the food is less, then the person will not have enough energy, will cut very small and cannot cut it. But the food will not cut, only the axe will cut. So only the wisdom of emptiness will cut the mental defilements. And whereas the other factors, other practices like generosity, ethical discipline, patience, enthusiasm, and so forth, they will help us, like the food, to give energy to the woodcutter, so the axe will be very effective, can very effectively cut the poisonous tree. So the wisdom of emptiness is so precious. At the same time, is all a warning is given to us that with the wisdom of emptiness, we can easily fall into nihilism. This is a great warning given, that we should be very careful that we do not fall into nihilism. And it's for this reason also that the Buddha Shakyamuni, he first taught this wisdom of emptiness, and then in the 1st century AD, the great Indian master, Buddhist, the Indian master, Arya Nagarjuna, he interpreted, he explained it in more detail. And what he taught, like the classics, 6 texts which he wrote on emptiness, on ultimate reality. So these many people, like even the Indian philosophers, Western philosophers, since like the 10th century, 11th century, they read Arya Nagarjuna's text. They do not really study them so thoroughly the way the manner in which they were studied in the monastic universities. Because of this, they so rashly come to conclusion that Arya Nagarjuna, his philosophy is the idealism, which is very too naive to come to this conclusion, too naive. And the beauty of the concept of emptiness lies in the fact that the more you understand emptiness, the more you appreciate the conventional world. If that happens, you understand that emptiness is going in the proper direction. Whereas the more you learn emptiness, the more you disregard the functionalities of the world, you're going to nihilism, you're not going to emptiness. So in other words, emptiness is not nihilism. Emptiness is the middle way. Okay, Sheila, I will stop here for today.
Okay, dedication prayers?
Yes, dedication prayer. Okay, Sheila, I'm just wondering if we can do 1 or 2 questions. We can take 1 or 2 questions. That'll be wonderful.
Okay, want to do that first? Questions
Anyone?
now?
Yes, yes.
Any questions? Anyone raise your hand, shout out? Anybody?
There. Anyone raise your hands if you have a question? Anyone? Okay, no question means good news. No news is good news. Okay, we'll do the dedication prayer. Okay, in the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful generosity Tenzin Gyatso will please remain until samsara ends. Just as a brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these rules of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appear in 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that has not arisen and rise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization that is in the prayers of all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas all 3 times, and to the abhorrent Dharma of teaching and realization. May in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the 4 wheels of the Mahana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfectly enter 2 stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until I reach full enlightenment. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the fallen find new hope, constant happiness, prosperity. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their illness. May every disease in the world never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the parties find power, and may people think of benefiting one another. By the merits that accumulated, may every single being abandon all forms of wrongdoing and perpetually engage in virtue. May they never be parted from the mind of bodhicitta, and may they always engage in the bodhisattva's conduct. May they be cared for by the Buddhas and relinquish the actions of devils. May no living creature ever suffer, coming wrong, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, or the minds ever be depressed. May all the pains of living creatures ripen so upon myself, and through the might of the Bodhisattva Sangha, may all beings experience happiness. Having dispelled all inner and outer obstacles and downfalls, such as poverty, despair, and oppression, cruelty, epidemics and natural disasters, environmental degradation, may all beings forever enjoy the glory of peace and happiness. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the Triple Gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. By the power of practicing and supplicating to you, may all be free from sickness, poverty, and conflicts, and may Dharma and auspicious are proliferate in all the places where we abide. The power of unity, emptiness, and compassion is loosely explained by the protective Buddha, Dharma, and the beings of the land of snows. With the lotus order Tenzin Gyatso, we supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations or evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans or non-humans who have by malice through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of three jewels. By the dependent realization of the profound substance of appearance and emptiness, together with the force of great compassion of the three jewels and the power of the truth, and to the virtue of the infallible law of karmas and the fruits, may this truthful prayer of ours be unhindered and quickly fulfilled. May the teachings of this beneficent one till world's end be unshaken by the winds of evil thoughts. May it always be met by innumerable beings who find a conviction in the teacher by understanding the teaching's true nature. May it never falter even for an instant to uphold the excellent way of the sage, which illuminates the principle of dependent origination through all my births, even giving away my body and life. May I spend day and night carefully reflecting by what means can I enhance his teaching, achieved by the Supreme Savior through strenuous efforts over countless eons. In all my lives, never separate from perfect gurus, I enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities, the stages of the paths, may could attain the state of Vajratara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may always be guided by the Manjushri, and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on dependent origination in particular, even in the course of my life. Deyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhisvatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhisvatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhisvaha. Okay, thank you. See you again.
Yeah. Thank you, Geshe. Thank you, everybody, for coming. See you all tomorrow. Wonderful
Thank you,
teaching.
Geshe.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful teaching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. See you all tomorrow, I hope.